Oh, hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of First Canada Live. I'm your host, Karthik and Samantha, and we are here to have a good time and talk robots, talk First Robotics Canada action. It's going to be a great show, a lot of stuff happening today. But before we get started, it is important as Canadians, especially today, to recognize the land of which we are a part. As we gather for this meeting, physically dispersed and virtually constructed, let us take a moment to reflect upon the meaning of place, and in doing so, recognize the various traditional lands on which we celebrate today. We acknowledge the elders and youth, past, present, and emerging, of all the land on which we work and live. We honor the ancestral spirits with gratitude and respect. We acknowledge this land out of respect for the Indigenous nations who have cared for Turtle Island, also called North America. The Indigenous people have been gifted the role of caretakers of this land before the arrival of settler peoples until today. But most importantly, we must remember the history of these lands and people that have been tainted by poor treatment and a lack of friendship with the First Nations who called Canada home before it was given this name. This history is something that everyone is affected by. We are all treaty people in Canada. We all have a shared history to reflect upon, and each of us is affected by this history in many different ways. Our past defines our present, but if we move forward as friends and allies, it does not have to define our future. All right, folks, to get us started today, I'd like to welcome our co-host, member of the First Canada Youth Council, and a member of Team 5558 Alt F4. It is Samantha. How's it going, Samantha?
Hi, Karthik. I'm doing well, thank you.
Welcome back to the show. When was the last time you were on? Was it like the spring? Spring was the last time you hosted?
I think it was. Yes.
That's right, because this is now your second year on the Youth Council. How is the Youth Council doing?
The Youth Council is doing really well. We've had a couple meetings so far, and also I'd like to announce that the Youth Council's fall edition of the Being First magazine is now, tomorrow, it will be uploaded to the WordPress website.
Tomorrow?
Yes, there'll be an Instagram post posted on Instagram with the link to the next issue of the magazine. So get excited for that. It's tomorrow.
Samantha, is there anything cool? What should I be most hyped about for the new edition of the magazine?
Well, we have a lot of stuff for grade 12 students currently applying to university. So there's a highlight for Youth Council alumni who won scholarships last year. They're giving tips and tricks for people applying scholarships this year. There's also a university program spotlight where we just had researched a bunch of different things about one specific university program. I can't tell you the program yet. I don't want to give everything away.
No spoilers, no spoilers. Spoiler-free zone here, you know?
Yes, but that is what's to look forward to in this issue.
All right, that's awesome. I'm pumped for. I didn't realize it was tomorrow. I'm great. I was like, I know what I'm doing tomorrow night. I'm going to be reading the magazine. This is going to be good. All right, folks. On today's show, we got some amazing guests. We got a story time segment with a First Robotics Canada alum, Shahroze, better known as Shahroze Rao. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And Samantha, FRC season, First Robotics Competition season is coming up. That's right. Registration is open and we've got all the scoop. If you want the inside scoop on FRC, there's no better people to talk to than John Hobbins and William Neal. So they're going to be on today as well. So I'm excited to see what they have for us. Every time they come on the show, there's always some sort of announcement or something, you know? So I want to know what the hype's all about. So if you're watching, it's going to be good. If you're watching the show out there on Twitch, make sure if you have any questions, just drop them in the chat. We will do our best to answer them. And if you're watching the archive on YouTube, we can't interact with you in any way, but we'll use our powers. We'll try and figure out what questions you might have wanted to ask. And also, folks, remember why we're here. We're here to have some fun and celebrate excellence in our community. So let's keep it all positive, keep the energy, keep the vibes good. And speaking of good vibes, I think it's time to talk about our Youth Council wellness moment. So what are you serving up for us today, Samantha?
Well, for the wellness moment, I'd like to share something that my dad shared with me. So my dad really likes podcasts, and he told me about this one podcast that he listened to that was created by someone who was on U.S. Airways Flight 1549, the flight that Sully Sullenberger landed on the Hudson River.
Yeah.
And so the person who created this podcast, he, after being on this flight, he really internalized the concept just that every moment counts and to live your life to the fullest. And he used to get asked to speak a lot at different events. And he said he used to feel guilty about saying no when people asked him to speak. And then he realized that every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. So like, for example, you could be asked to participate in this event but well, you're saying yes to that, you're saying no to family time or something like that. So just the message I want to get across is to just be mindful of what you're saying yes to and what you're saying no to, and also to remember to leave some personal time for yourself, some family time for yourself, and just to sometimes take a moment for yourself, and every time you're saying yes to something, you're saying no to something else.
That's some fantastic advice. I actually like, especially with the specific example, because I also get asked to speak a lot at conferences and things, and I feel incredibly guilty, especially if it's related to first, because you never want to say no. But that's true. When you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. That is just so, it's like, it's so simple, but it's like really poignant. And I think it applies a lot for our high school student listeners who are so busy. You're being pulled in so many different directions between school, robotics, your other extracurriculars, your friends, your family. And every time you say yes to something, you're saying no, and you probably need some time to unwind. And that's often the thing that gets crushed, because we often don't make time for ourselves. So great advice, Samantha. That's cool. Also, always good to be listening to podcasts and whatever. So that's really cool. Thank you for that. That's a good one. I like that one a lot. I'm going to use that one. The next time someone asks me to speak at a conference and I kind of don't want to, I'm gonna be like, oh, what did Samantha say? It's gonna be good. Sweet. All right, it's time for our news updates. What's going on in the world of First Robotics Canada? Well, hey, First Canada Live, we're here every 2 weeks. That's the show schedule throughout the fall. So every 2 weeks. So we're here this Tuesday and we'll be here 2 Tuesdays from now. If you want to get notified when we're on, hey, you're on the channel right now, subscribe and turn on notifications for us on Twitch. That way you'll get like a little thing. Twitch turns off your notifications if you don't use it for a while. That's what I didn't know. My internet coach explained this to me or whatever. I have an internet coach. Did you know that, Samantha? She like gives me all the tips on everything that's going on out there.
I did not know that.
She's a famous Twitch streamer, also just like a normal firster or whatever. But like I like to say, she's a famous Twitch streamer. But yeah, it's turn on your notifications, subscribe, like, do all the things. Registration. Hey folks, registration is open for all FIRST programs right now, from Explore to Challenge, First Tech Challenge, First Robotics Competition. So we're going to be having full capacity events this year. You can bring your parents, you can bring your whole team. That's going to be super exciting. However, masks are mandatory, so everyone remember to mask up, and vaccination is strongly recommended. Get your most current dose, get boosted up, because we're trying to move back to normalcy, but there's a lot of people who are still getting sick out there, and it's on us to do what we can to protect each other. Samantha, are you aware of the First Ontario Team Support Slack?
I have heard of it before, yes.
So it is a great place to go if you are on a team and you have questions and you're just like, oh, I'm struggling with my Java code, and how do I wire my signal light? And, oh, what's the best way to do scouting this year? Questions like that, you can throw them into the Slack and you will have so many people going to answer the questions. It's just this great group where there's mentors, there's students all working together to help each other out. It's I know we're going to be having William and John in a bit. William's going to be talking a little bit about the concept of like Team Ontario, like all Ontario teams supporting each other. And the Slack is one of those places where that happens. Also, for our alumni who are watching, we have a First Canada alumni LinkedIn group. So if you are a First Canada alum, meaning you finished high school, so like Samantha, you 1 year from now can join that LinkedIn group, and soon there will be postings in there from companies and ways for alumni to connect with each other. And it'd be really cool. Like Samantha, you might go to school next year somewhere not in Toronto, and you might be like, oh, I wonder if there's any, I don't know how to meet people, or maybe there's some first people here. This group could help you find them. I hate to be like the old person who does this, but Samantha, what schools are you thinking of right now?
Well, I really want to apply to the University of Waterloo for mechatronics or the University of Toronto for engineering science.
Two amazing programs. Those are like two of the top programs in the world, actually. So you can't do wrong with either of those. Yeah, that'll be really, really cool. That's very exciting, very competitive too. You better be working hard.
Yes.
I know you're working hard. You always are. All right, folks, now it's time for our next segment. But before we do that, we're going to take a look at a word from one of our sponsors, Hatch.
When I was applying for co-ops, I was really looking for a place that would allow me to have the greatest amount of experience. And since Hatch is such a big company, I knew that I would be able to get involved with all the different groups that the company offers.
What surprised me about working at Hatch was the amount of responsibility that you're given very quickly, like once you start.
There's so many opportunities to learn, not just from specialists in the field, but also from something like Lunch and Learns, or even Safety Shares. So it's not something technical that I'm learning, but something that might help me in my everyday life.
For me to be able to just walk into their office and ask them whatever I want, to schedule a meeting whenever I want, to be able to work directly with them on building things was an insanely good experience.
As a student, I am as much valued as the other employees that are here.
I enjoy working here because people are very friendly, and this environment that they created has been more than absolute perfect.
Karthik, I'm not sure if it's just me, but your audio's off.
Well, thank you, Samantha, because I was coughing during the break, so I was muted and I did not realize I should unmute. So let me try that again. Welcome back, everyone, for our first robotics competition update. And we're going to bring out first our first robotics competition program manager for First Robotics Canada, William Neal, and the first robotics competition director for First Robotics Canada and 2010 Woody Flowers finalist award winner and award-winning rapper, Mr. John Hobbins, Johnny Z. How's it going, folks?
Hey, great to be here. Hey, Karthik and Samantha. I gotta say, internet coach, are you kidding me? Wow, I should get one. But Samantha, your story about the Hudson River and the ability to say yes and no one to say no, just amazing. I gotta tell you a tidbit. I used to go across that river every day when I worked in Washington back in the 1970s.
There you go.
Wow.
There you go. All right. So, John, first off, and both of you, how was your summer? You know, like we talk, so everyone wants the updates, but like, how was your summer? Did you have some time to unwind?
Well, I certainly did unwind. Sorry, William, a good summer, but really looking forward to this season. And I got to tell you that I'm really excited about 2.5 IPE. And I know that you all know what that is. That is 2.5 days of in-person events. Woo! Over to you, William.
A new acronym. Great, John. Thank you.
It was a great summer of IPE for me, having the great privilege of going up to Manitoulin Island and participating in the Manitoulin Metal Conference, and having several days of IPE at Studica, where we had a set of mentors from all around the province gathered together to learn about FRC robotics control systems and coding and CAD. And what an amazing experience that was. So it was a great summer, aside from many other amazing things.
What about you, Samantha? Best thing you did this summer?
I did a co-op placement at the Toronto Zoo.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Just up in my neck of the woods. That's right. How was it?
It was really, really cool. I was in the reproductive and genetics and endocrine labs there. So most of my work dealt with fecal samples, but I learned so much about biology and animals and reproduction animals. It was a really cool experience.
I follow the Toronto Zoo on Instagram, and like just the other day they were posting about that lab and how they like the fecal samples and stuff. And it's cool, you know, and like the selective breeding and the red panda, one of the red pandas, a deer, she's moving to Phoenix because they found her a mate in Phoenix to help propagate the species. So that's sad. I'm going to miss a deer. I like to go visit her. We're tight. So first robotics competition in Ontario this season. John and William, what is up? What can you tell us today?
Well, as those slides get queued up, I got to tell you, you know, besides being good to be here, it's great to be able to share some important information with you. And this may be a spoiler zone tonight here.
Spoiler alert, folks.
First Canada Live show.
All right. Well, let's take a look at those slides. Here we are. It's the Charged Up season presented by the Gene Haas Foundation. And I see some key dates on the screen. So John, William, we want to walk us through?
Sure, we'll get William to cover some of the first few points on there. I just want to say that this is extremely important information that's here. So please, please get to know those dates. Go ahead, William.
So you see a collection of dates here. Many of them are similar to previous years, but there are some changes. So it's always good to refer back to the program blog and, of course, the calendar on the First Inspires website, as well as the program updates that regularly come out, not every Friday, but many Fridays. And the first of these dates is our drive base opt-out. October 20th this year is that date. Now, it's interesting, John, what might happen if a team were to, say, on October 21st, try to opt out of the drive base?
Well, I would say that yourself, myself, and Merch Master, Mr. Paul Keenan, are going to get a lot of phone calls, and the phone calls will be, please help. We need to change our minds on what we've chosen. And we absolutely cannot help you. Once the 20th hits, the decision is final, and the window is open now. So go in, figure out what you're going to do, and make that decision.
Great. Well, thank you, John. I know that's one of the important dates to pay attention to. It can be a lot paying attention to all of these dates throughout the FRC season, but this is a particularly important one. So our first event preference window, it used to be event selection day back in the day. I don't know when they changed, but it's much easier now because you have a whole week up until Thursday, September 29th, which is 2 days from now, to select your first event with priority.
Hey, William,
yeah.
Did you?
You first,
go
John.
ahead. Well, I was going to say, a little bit reserved about jumping to the third point, which is really tied to the second point, and it's brand new. So again, spoiler zone. I don't think we've ever had this before. The window's going to close on Thursday for first round preference, and then they have something called a late registration window, which still allows you to select back to the events from the first round. But key point, if you miss the September 29th closing date, and then you go in on the 30th, for example, you may get an event, but you won't be prioritized. You'll be prioritized outside of that first group that chose. Very important point.
So
yeah, and because all our teams, they work to the very end. They work to the very end. So is that deadline on the 29th? Is that at noon Eastern? Is that what it is?
Pretty close, 11:59 a.m.
11:59 a.m. And also, anyone watching the Jays game, George Springer, leadoff home run, 1-0 Jays.
Thank you for the live updates.
Outstanding.
So, yeah, moving along then, we see our first late registration window. There will be a second one as the pattern repeats starting again on October 6th. We have a week to select the second event with priority. There's a lottery therein, and hopefully all the teams will get their first choice. And then there's a second late registration, a second group of teams that will have a lower priority in terms of their event selections, but are still able to select their events.
So William, probably as a team, you could consider almost as though there's 4 windows.
Yeah.
There's the first window, the second window, that's a late window, the third one, which is like the old second one, and then this second late registration. But William, what's the problem for you and I and the planning staff at First Canada when teams procrastinate or they don't have the reasoning or decisions made and they don't register until the last minute? What kind of complications come up for us?
Well, there's a lot of shuffling around in the background, and many times there are waiting lists for the events. And sometimes there are deadlines coming up and we have to make some changes fairly quickly. So doing things early in general is very good. With respect to events, that may mean the difference between your team having a local event and having to travel much further for an event.
Very important.
Yeah.
It's like a chess game, isn't it? Where we do our best to get every choice for the teams in play for them where they want to be. But the longer it goes before somebody's registered, the harder it is for us to be able to do that.
And I will say for our teams who are watching, it is if you've never seen the behind the scenes on how this works, John and William and Swaggy P, they are working the phones. They are doing everything they can to make sure teams can be at the events they want. They are, stick handling wait lists and adjusting teams. incredible how much work goes to make sure that our teams get the best opportunities. So, obviously, the earlier you can sign up for things, the earlier you can get things done, the more play, the more ice there will be to stick handle around, right, John?
Absolutely, you got it. I think of, I played a little bit of hockey when I was a kid, but I feel like I play a lot more now with that stick and trying to make sure everybody gets what they want and score a goal for everyone. But you know what happens after this round? We get to the third play option. And that's where we will go back to normal routines like we did a couple of years ago. Teams will be able to pay their fee for a third play event and have an option, and it's all done by wait list. So you'll register, we'll keep you on a list, we'll wait till those spots come available, we'll assign the spots as best we can, and then you could have that third play or maybe even a fourth play. And because it's in person this year, if we happen to have available spots at tournaments, we might even have some US teams come up and play with us. We always like that.
We do have some US viewers this year. So John, just to confirm, our events are open to American teams again this year?
They are. We actually have a short waiting list already, if you can believe it.
Oh, there we go. It's everyone wants to come up to Ontario, right?
Right.
Why wouldn't
Absolutely.
you?
And speaking of being on time, as we were talking about event selection, also payment, it can make a big difference if the teams pay on time. And I know this from having been a mentor. It is challenging to get invoices run through bureaucracies. And yet doing that as early as possible can prevent a whole flurry of payments coming near the end and a lot of confusion about who has paid and who hasn't. So it is good practice to, where possible, pay upon receipt of your invoices. The invoices will come sometime around mid-November, and then they're due as soon as possible, but at the latest November 30th. So that's our
William,
payment. Yeah, John.
Yeah, a point that's important that you've kind of mentioned, but I want to amplify a bit, is that the sooner it gets started, the payment process, what happens in a school in particular is that the office secretary or whoever is in charge, the budget secretary, has to then go to the board office, get approval, then it's approved, then they got to send a PO or a money order check, what have you, and that all takes time. So when you consider that First Canada will start to issue invoices as soon as they can in November, by the end of the month, we have to know, because what happens is those robot kits have to be counted and put on the freight train to come up to Canada.
Excellent. Thank you very much. That makes a huge difference. There's a whole set of dominoes that fall. It's a complex system indeed. So we have something called First Choice open between November 17th and December 1st. This is a chance for teams to select various components that would be useful for their robots. They're given a set of credits, and each item on the First Choice website has a certain number of credits, and you select a set of items and then have them shipped off to Canada. I wonder if you have any comments or recommendations about that, John.
Well, I think, again, the fact that it's on this slide, it's really important, and pretty much the things that we point out here have been problems in the years gone by, and teams that don't benefit because they missed the window for First Choice, so they go into round 2 for First Choice, and by the time they get to round 2, everything's gone that they really need. And we know that this year is going to be really important to get your hands on what you can when you consider the global problem with transportation and shipping of products.
And the other thing with First Choice is there's some things on there that you can't really get anywhere else. And especially, and I know William and John are going to talk a little bit about the new opt-out option. You can opt out for more than just the drive base. But if you do that opt-out, you might not be getting like a battery or a signal light, or because you have exchanged that. But First Choice will have those items available. So it's really important that you take a look at what's on First Choice. And there's a lot of neat things there every year. Sometimes it's not necessarily stuff to go on your robot, but like you can get like a really nice digital multimeter. You can get sometimes video cards to help with your CAD computers. There's really good stuff in there. So it's important to take a look, do your window shopping, and evaluate and figure out what you want to get.
And we got a lot of our pneumatic system components through the first
Yeah.
It was good. Yeah. So that brings us to the new year, January 7th. Every year, the first Saturday of January, everyone knows in the FRC community what that means.
Absolutely. That kickoff's going to be something else. And I got to tell you, William and Karthik and Samantha, something else you might not know about me. Last time we had the kickoff so late in January, it gave us an extra week of holidays at the Christmas break. And what it gave me was this chance to run the Disney marathon and half marathon together. So that's, if you ever hear somebody call me Goofy, it's because it's called a Goofy Run, because it's the, after the Disney characters. So that's just a sidebar story, but January 7th, it gives you that extra bit of time this year to get ready. And hopefully everybody will be tuning into one of the, William, what is it, 6 or 7 kickoff locations we have?
So far, we have confirmed 6 kickoff locations across Ontario, from Kingston all the way to Windsor. And
excellent.
Yeah, you can find them on the First Events website, and I'm sure in your dashboard you'll have a chance to sign up for the kickoff location in due course.
Well, kickoff, it's the best day of the year.
Absolutely. It's Christmas for firsters. All right. So
yes, it is.
Someone want to tell us what's going on with the black tote? I alluded to it earlier.
Well, it's Christmas time, isn't it? And
well, it's all about the totes, them totes, those totes. Yeah, so this year there's this thing about the black tote that teams could actually opt out of. And if you opt out, there are credits that you would get, a total of $250, or divided up 125 by Robotics and 125 through Andy Mark. Now, I want to just be clear about this. Sometimes when you opt out of a drive base, for example, you can use those credits at Studica or Andy Mark, but you cannot use these credits at Studica. It would only be through Rev or Andy Mark. And just be sure to keep your eye on the blog to be able to find out more information. And we have the link sitting there for you.
All right, John, so just to confirm, so these $250 credits have to be used directly at the source, but the drive-based credits could be used at Studica?
Typically, what are they, PD? Or yes, the drive-based credits have always been able to be used at Studica.
Okay.
I believe $450.
$450. Okay.
Yes. It was important not to mix up that these credits are only through the US, not through
so yeah, they're basically separate coupons, essentially.
Exactly.
Okay.
So just a little summary of our recent mentor meeting. We had the first mentor meeting of the year recently. And during that meeting, we pointed out that $800 has been arranged by First Robotics Canada to support teams towards their registration this year. And that's a really important piece. And oh, there's an interesting point. The provincial championships will be at a new location.
Oops, drop it like it's hot.
So,
William.
So Johnny Z, you can't just like leave us hanging like that. Do you have something to tell us?
Well, I have a little something that's good to tell you. But first, I just want to amplify that piece about the $800. Teams would have had to pay $8,800 this year. But First Canada, the board of directors got together thinking proactively, what can we do to help our teams? And they came up with some extra funding, a significant amount of money when you count all the teams in Ontario, to make sure that all the fees were dropped by $800. So it's $8,000 for every team. And that's a segue into some even better news. This unofficial announcement will be made soon in the next 2 seconds. So here tonight on First Canada Live, I have to tell you, we're so thrilled to share with the community that our first provincial championships in Ontario will be held at none other than First Ontario Centre, which is in Hamilton, Ontario. That's going to be fantastic. That venue is crazy good.
Breaking news, folks. Breaking news here on First Canada Live. The Ontario Provincial Championship is coming to Hamilton.
Exciting indeed. The venue is amazing, and we can foresee a lot of great times being had in the former Cops Coliseum.
I want an instant reaction. Samantha, what do you think? Provincials in Hamilton, how do you feel?
Super excited. I'm really looking forward to the provincial championships. It's going to be fantastic.
And this is a very historic arena. This is where the 1987 Canada Cup final was. So the famous Gretzky to Lemieux goal. So it's like we're playing on hallowed grounds, right, John?
Wow. I'm getting chills right now hearing you talk about that, Karthik. I used to live just down the street when that game was played. Yes, in Hamilton. And what everybody should get out of this is a full-size NHL arena. That's how big this place is. And that's how big First is going to be in Ontario.
That's right. So you can bring everyone you want to the event. That's right. That was the goal. Howard Chuck won the face-off to Lemieux, to Gretzky, Alberta, Lemieux to win, to beat the Russians. Take that. Good times.
That was great.
Well, this is really exciting, John. Thanks so much for sharing that news. And William, I'll let you talk to the last slide.
Well, thank you very much. It's been really great speaking with mentors, students, teams all around Ontario. An exciting time indeed. Lots of cooperation among the communities of teams. Really looking forward to the off seasons and the conferences in the fall, and to seeing everyone in the new season in 2023.
All right.
Thank you again, everyone. Thank
you, William, John, for being here. Hey, before you go, we're going to do something rapid fire. I'm going to give you each a choice. Blue Jays, Raptors, or Leafs? Who's going to win a championship first?
I have the instant answer.
What's the answer, William?
Okay, well, people are not going to like my answer because, well, but in statistics.
It's rapid fire, William, rapid fire.
Okay, it's got to be the Leafs. They're full of London Knights players, and London Knights players dominating the NHL. So there's no other choice. There we go.
Right. John?
Yeah, rock, paper, scissors, Leafs.
All right, there we go. We got two people saying the Leafs are going to be the next one to win. I don't know. The Jays are going to be in the playoffs in just a couple of weeks. So same. Lots of hope, though. Lots of optimism here in Toronto. That's a weird one. We're not used to that. Hey, John, William, thank you for coming on the show today. But also thank you so much for everything you do for the First Robotics competition, everything you do for our teams, for our mentors, for our volunteers. Truly appreciative of everything you do to make this all happen. And I am pumped for a big season. Are you pumped, Samantha?
I am really, really pumped. Super excited for the season.
All right, folks. We are going to be back in just a moment with our next segment with our story time. But before we do that, let's take a look at a word from one of our sponsors who makes this all happen, Honda. All right, we're back. And now I'd like to introduce our next segment, First Canada alum and former mentor and drive coach, and not just any drive coach, arguably one of the best drive coaches we've had in the province, been on the Einstein Field, provincial champion from Team 1241, Theory 6 in Mississauga, Ontario. It is Shahroze. How are you doing, Shazzy?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Karthik.
Thanks for being on the show. We've had like a lot of people on for story time, but I'm glad to finally have you on here. So this is gonna be good. First off, man, how was your summer?
It's been great. It's been great to be back, just hanging out with friends again, traveling, just going around. It's felt good after lockdown for a couple of years.
Yeah, going to weddings again.
Yeah, weddings, taking out trips to California. It's been great.
What was the coolest thing you saw in California?
Coolest thing I saw in California, we actually went ATVing.
Nice.
So we got to do that in the desert in Nevada, since we were right at the border.
Was that one of those was it called Sun Buggy? The Sun Buggy?
I believe so, something along those lines. It was like one of those razor cars. There were a group of us, so we had 3 of those. We got to take those out. Unfortunately, I crashed one.
Shocking.
But
Shocking.
Everyone was safe. Everyone was safe.
Samantha, have you ever done anything like that?
Actually, I have gone ATVing before.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was super fun. They're really, really fast.
You really feel it, when it's just open, and like it's just like you feel it. It's like whoa, and like when you're in the desert doing it, like it's like okay, this is real. This is good. That's awesome that you got to travel and you got to do some stuff this summer, Shazzy. And so you're here on Storytime. And for those of you who haven't watched before or haven't seen this before, Storytime is a segment where we bring on a First Canada alum or a First Canada mentor and ask them just like, what's your journey? Because everyone who goes through First has their own unique journey. And there's so many interesting stories. And like when we're at events, we're so busy. We don't have time to talk through all this stuff because it's just like, I want to figure out a strategy for the next match and like, where's the scouting data and like what just happened, and like, oh shoot, our robot fell over again and we gotta fix that. Have you ever been on a team, Shazzy, where your robots fallen over?
I'm trying to count the years where we haven't tipped over. That'll be easier.
Did you tip this year?
We did tip this year.
Oh,
We did tip this year one match. I just
cable protector for
the
sure.
Cable protector.
Yeah, cable protector.
They got everyone in Ontario.
Everyone hit the cable protector. That's fun. Stupid cable protector. But so your journey, Shazzy, what is your first journey? Like where did it start from and where are you now and what were the dots in between?
Yeah, I go back all the way to 2013. That was my first year on the team.
Interesting year to start.
Interesting year to start. Yep, for sure. The funny thing is I actually went into the robotics room for Vex Robotics because that's what I was interested in. My friend was talking about that. He was on a Vex Robotics team. But then when I saw
Samantha's got her start in Vex as well.
Wow, nice. But when I saw the big FRC robot, I had to get into it. It was a basketball robot. Everything about it just seemed perfect. That would have been the 2012 robot. So I joined the team in 2013 and quickly really got into the program. Started getting involved with design, and at competitions, I was actually a scout there. So when the 2014 offseason came around, I wanted to get more involved with the team. So I started taking up a bit more of a leadership role. And after that, became one of the lead design students. And I actually was in the pit crew that year.
Okay.
Now, after graduating, I went on and I came back to help out the team and decided that I wanted to try out strategy. So under Josh Jafari, one of the great strategists in Ontario, he took me under his wing and we worked a lot together. And naturally, when you're a strategist, you're working with the coach as well. So got to learn a lot from Thuvashan, who was a coach at the time as well.
Thuvashan, who's been on the show for Storytime before. He's one of our head referees in the province and
exactly.
Flowers Finalist Award winner.
Yeah. So I say Thuvashan is the best coach in the world in first history, but I might be biased. And
there's a lot. There's a lot. Like, I mean, we can have this discussion right now because it's story time. So like Duva's up there. Duva's up there for me. Paul Copioli might be my guy is the best.
For sure.
EJ Sabathia, 254 on the poofs, one of the best. Matt Coffey might have the best win-loss record of everyone on.
I think you might be right about that. Yeah.
When you think of his drive team era, because I mean, he didn't lose a match as a driver until Einstein.
Really? That would have been 2010?
2010. Yeah.
Wow.
And then Ty Holtzman, your best buddy.
Yeah. Can't deny Ty.
he's like right there. It's like there's a lot of groups there or whatever. So
Rishi, he's been on the show, and
we're just gonna name everyone who's been on the show. We're just gonna. It's really really solid. But like. It's a really solid group, but I think that's kind of the neat things is that in Ontario there's just an emphasis on strategy in Ontario that we don't necessarily see in other regions. And do you notice that at Worlds, Shazzy, when you've been coaching?
Oh, for sure. I feel like the way that Ontario has grown as a region, trying to catch up with the 1114 and 2056, strategy was very prominent. It was one of the ways that you were trying to differentiate yourself. So I would say that Ontario is definitely up there as one of the top strategy regions for sure.
And I think it also played when we switched the districts because teams were playing more and got more matches. And also you're playing more with the same teams. So you had to adapt because it's like, you're just going to be banging your head into the wall, doing the same thing over and over again. So you have to adapt on that side of things. So
exactly.
Sorry.
That's why Ontario will see the most defense.
we just totally sidetracked. Because like you were telling the story, and then it's like this is what Storytime's about. I haven't done this in so long. This is great.
So from there in 2018, I took on the role as coach for 2018, 2019. 2020, I had a short stint with 2056. Helped them out a little bit.
So that's like a little dream team there. You're taking all your knowledge from 1241, and then you come over with all Ty's institutional knowledge at 2056, and you brought that together. And then you didn't get to go to a single event because of COVID.
Oh my God, that robot!
That robot was that robot was phenomenal. I honestly believe that that's the best 2056 robot, and just that no one ever got to see it, you know?
Yeah. And I think the thing that made it amazing was the driver that year, Tom. It was just unbelievable. We would put 2 defense robots on him and it'd be dancing circles around it.
So that would have been Tom driving that year?
That would have been Tom driving.
That is last year.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
Hey, but you know what? I don't want to do this pandemic sadness thing. I don't want to do it right now. We're moving on. There's new stuff coming. So 2020, you were helping with 2056 with OP because it was closer to where you were living at the time, right?
Yeah, I was in the Hamilton area during that time.
And then last year you were back with Theory. So that's a neat journey. So Samantha, you had a question for Shazzy?
Yes, I did. What's one of your favorite FRC stories?
One of my favorite FRC stories.
It's story time, dude. You got to come up with a story, you know?
Yeah, so I'll go something a little bit more recent. 2019 DCMP. That was just
provincial championship. Yep.
Provincial championships. That was an absolute roller coaster for our team, and me personally, because I guess I'll start off with that. The Friday night, it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday event, or Friday,
Thursday,
Saturday,
Friday,
Sunday?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Thursday, Friday.
So
Saturday.
the Thursday night and Friday night, I ended up having exams because I was still in my final year of university at the time. So those exams
at McMaster University, strong supporter for Robotics Canada.
Yep, at McMaster. So we're having provincial championships in Mississauga, and we have my exams in Hamilton. So I was trying to fit in all of our matches, trying to make sure that I make it out for as many matches as I can. And the last matches of the day on both days cut it to the wire. Like I'm talking about played the match. I ran outside. One of the mentors, Tilak, he actually drove me to McMaster. He drove me to McMaster, even though I had my own car, just so I didn't have to spend any time parking.
Tilak was your getaway driver.
Tilak was my getaway driver to my exams.
Did he wait for you outside the exam?
Yes, he did actually. He did. So that was the other crazy part. I come out of the exam on Friday and he tells me, Shazzy, Malavia won Woody Flowers. I'm like, no, Tilak, it's been so many years in the company. Like we wait for this every year. And he said, no, he actually won. I watched the video and I'm cheering as loud as I can. I'm so excited to get back just so I can give Malavia a hug.
So like important question here. How'd you do on the exams?
Let's move on to the other portion of the segment. Let's move on to the rest of the story. No, I studied beforehand. It was just obviously there's robotics going on in my mind at the same time as the exam.
So you get back Friday, you finished your exam. Tilak drove you. Tilak probably brought you food. There was probably shawarma for you because Tilak is like amazing.
We got Lizzie's on the way.
Nice. Of course. See, I know. How did I know what you got? Of course.
So going back to kind of the robot side now, we'd go on in with a bunch of software upgrades. The cool part that year was that with Limelight around, our students actually wanted to develop their own vision tracking system. So they went ahead and did that. And obviously there was some refinement needed that you don't get with Limelight, but the students really wanted to do it. So we let them go ahead with it. And they got a chance to implement that. And we kind of started getting it really dialed in for provincial championships. We go through our qualifications. It seems like we're doing pretty well, but we had a few matches where we had a lot of defense on us or like we had something break. So our numbers are up there, but they're slightly lower, maybe around the same as two other teams, 188 and 1325, which were the other big contenders. Now, after everything shakes out, 1114 ends up seating first at that event, and we're all waiting to hear back from 1114 because the way that qualifications work is Friday qualifications was completely done. Saturday morning was
aligned selection.
Aligned selection and then eliminations. So I go talk to Caleb, I go talk to Ben, I go talk to Jeff, see if they have anything in mind. They're like, oh, Shazzy, we'll let you know later. Okay, no problem.
So you're nervous now?
I'm nervous because 1325 and 188 had absolutely killed it all day on Friday, especially. 1325 especially was great without defense. And 188 was seated second. Then there were a few other teams in between. Then there was 1325 and us. So really 1114 could pick 188. And then the way the rankings were shaked out, it would be in their best bet of getting out of the division.
But at provincials, there's two divisions.
But at provincial, there's two division, yes. And on the other side, you had 2056 and Then you had a couple great teams there as well, like 5406 and Team Dave. So any partnership of that would be very difficult to beat. So it's around 9 or 10 p.m. I text Caleb like, hey, do you have any decision? Have you picked someone else? Are you picking us? What's going on? He said, no, we'll let you know later. It's around 11 p.m. So then I create a group chat with 1325's coach, Flo, and 188's coach, Jagar. And we're like, hey, have you guys heard back at all from these guys? Like, no. Okay, none of us have heard back. It's now 2 a.m. and we're still texting each other like, hey, guys, if you know, just let each other know. Like, okay, nothing's going on. And I had trouble sleeping that day. So I sleep for a couple hours and I get up at around 4:30 and I'm like, oh, I can't sleep.
Can I interrupt for something? We all need to like stop this nonsense at events and like get some more sleep. But like this year at provincials, I remember like I just like 4:30 in the morning, I'm like, oh, I can't sleep. I'm just gonna watch some match video on my phone. Like that's just like a normal thing to do. It's like, I was so tied up with like emceeing stuff and whatever, I didn't get to see a bunch of matches. I'm just like, I was gonna watch some matches on phone. I'm like, oh, and like it's just what you do, and we need to stop. We need to stop. We need to get some sleep.
It's not healthy. Disclaimer: it's not healthy. But so it's around 4:30. I'm like, okay, I might as well just get ready and head to the competition. Might as well wait in line because back then you had to run for your seats. So I get there. It's around 5:30. No one's there. It's just me and another mentor on 1241.
Was it Tilak?
No, it was actually Simmerpreet.
Oh, okay.
Tilak comes later in the day.
Yeah, that's true. Tilak's not going to be there for the early shift. He already did the pickup, the drop off. He brought you shawarma.
He's done enough. Yeah. So we're there, and then Jeff walks in because Jeff is always one of the earliest ones at competitions.
Yeah.
And we're all just kind of looking at each other, waiting to see if Jeff says anything to us. And the big thing I realized with teams like 11-14 is if they want to talk to you or if there's something they want to let you know, they will let you know in their own time. So it's kind of let them be. Everyone pours in, we all head in, we run for our seats, everyone's sitting down. I'm sitting off separately in the stands, just praying, like what is going to happen? And then Ben and Jeff finally come up behind me and say, hey, Shazzy, we'd like to pick 1241 if you would accept. If I would like to accept, of course I'd like to accept.
So sorry, these two large men with beards walk up behind you.
Like, of course I would like to accept, of course. So we get our pick list together, we get our autos running and everything. And then this is where eliminations come in because it's not cakewalk by any shot.
It's the Ontario Provincial Championship. It's one of the hardest events in the entire world.
Exactly, like the defense we faced in the quarterfinals, and the third robot that we had picked for the alliance was 771, and 771 was a defensive beast. They were great. I remember the driver's name, Emily. She was amazing. She listened to calls perfectly. She understood what was happening. Really understood how the other robot was driving to play defense on them. So the first quarterfinal happened, it's all good. Second one happened, and then we find out that 771 has sheared the gears in their drive gearboxes.
Their drivetrain like basically exploded.
Yeah, like there were no teeth remaining on their gears anymore. So all three teams are together. They're quickly working on it. 771's taking apart their gearboxes, putting them together. See a bunch of 11-14 crew helping out as well. And luckily, what was happening was there was a big break between quarterfinals and semifinals because of the little events going on in between. And then obviously jumping back and forth between the two fields. They come out and just absolutely rip it. It was great. Like they did fantastic, crush it under defense. And then we played our finals against 188-1325, which was a really tough finals. We made it out of that. And then we were going to face 2056 and Team Dave on the other side. Now, here's the funny part. In between the finals matches, they gave both sides the opportunity to recalibrate on the field because 2056 and Team Dave were coming over and 4907 to the science field.
At provincials, there's the science field and the technology field, and then at least in that year, the format has changed. Like last year, there was one division, but there was two fields, two separate divisions, and the two division winners face off for the championship.
Yeah. So 2056 Team Dave and 4907 at that time.
The jumping robot before they jumped. Before they jumped.
They had the suction cup before.
Yeah. Of course, they're going to do something. That's amazing.
And they had a swerve.
A wicked cool swerve. Yes.
Yeah. They played some brutal defense. So they come over, and we 1241 had still not hit our 2-hatch auto consistently, not even once during qualifications, on the rocket or on the cargo ship, which were the two areas.
That's bizarre, because before the event you told me it never misses.
Yeah. Ask Ty how many times I've said that.
It never misses. Like, oh, we got a nail. It just doesn't.
Every time I've told Ty, oh yeah, watch this match. Oh, it's been an awful match for us.
Okay. All right.
So we calibrate our autos a little bit more. We go out to the first finals match, and our 2-hatch rocket auto hits first time on finals 1. Incredible. Happens again in finals 2, and then after like a couple really tough finals, we ended up winning. But yeah, that was just a whole roller coaster for me personally and team wise.
And doesn't winning provincials now, okay, obviously it's not the same as winning worlds. Nothing's the same as winning worlds, but doesn't it feel just special?
Yes, 100%. Just doing it with the teams that you constantly have played with all these years, or the people that you've just made friends with, and then facing off against those friends, it's a whole different experience. And then Ontario's so competitive.
Yeah, and I think it's the pomp and circumstance that goes with it. Like what was it like coming out with the marching band?
Oh yeah, that was great, especially watching Karthik kick down the first banner. Oh, we were watching that from the back. That was a whole different point of view.
You got the backstage view, of all that.
Coming out with the marching band, lining up. Back when we could still do handshakes, that was always a special moment for me. Lining up for handshakes in the finals.
That's
yeah.
That was
handshakes and waving flag.
Yes, Kanon waving flag.
Yes, waving flag during the handshakes.
That's the World Cup song. How it goes. It's like, it's tradition, and like that's one of the reasons why I love Storytime, because you get to hear the different perspectives of everyone. We all go to the same event, but no two people experience the same event. Mm-hmm. Everyone gets a different slice of it just based on the things that they saw, the things that they were involved in. And it's just like this really special sort of atmosphere, and you capture some of it. And like, we don't know these stories that 1241's drive coach every night was leaving to go write an exam, like probably like a 4th year material science exam or something super intense like that. And you were able to still focus on school, but do the intense job of being a drive coach and process all the scouting data and the strategy and the match video. It's a testament to what's going on, but like every individual person has their own story to go with that. So it's that's really neat.
Yeah, and we had a huge grade 12 class that year as well. So it was really special winning it with them, especially.
Samantha, you were in grade 9 for that provincial championship, right?
I was actually in grade 8 for that.
Grade 8?
But I was still on the team, and I remember that. I remember the finals matches with you guys in 11-14 and 7-7-1. So I was there at the competition. I you can see everything there.
What was the event experience like for you? What was your slice of that event?
It was my 3rd competition. I was scouting the whole time. It was what you learn on scouting is you learn all of the teams. You learn everyone there. You learn the bots that they have. I remember my favorite teams to scout. The scout was, I think, 4783. They had
defense robot, the purple
defense
robot from Ottawa.
Yes, they actually ended up picking us for their second choice in their alliance. I love scouting because I got to see. I just basically get to sit there and watch the matches. I don't like watching sports like hockey or basketball or anything like that, but I love watching robotics. So that was really fun.
Nice.
That was special. Shazzy, who in this program, or maybe not even in this program, it could be anywhere, but we talk about the inspiration and first and the role models. Who's been your role model?
I actually have 2 people, and I've talked about them already a little bit. That would be Josh and Thuvishan for me. So these 2 guys are like my big brothers for me. There's a couple of my best friends, and when I came into the program as a student, I worked with them a little bit, but it was really when I started first mentoring, I realized just the type of people that they were. They were incredibly driven, empathetic people that were extremely competitive, but somehow found that balance of making sure that student The student experience was priority. Being a good person was priority, and all of that. And I'm constantly learning from them every single day. Like by being it, at the end of the day, a lot is said about you by the people that surround you. So for me to have these two guys in my life, it has been great because I try to emulate a lot of what they do, and then based off what they do, try to find my own path as well. So they've helped me personally, they've helped me professionally in robotics. So to me, I look up to these two guys. Always have robotics-wise strategy and coaching, professional-wise, like they're doing great in their work fields right now. So I look up to them for that. And then just as people, they're just really great people that I try to be every day.
The mentorship of this program is so special that way, that you can make these sorts of connections and you make these sorts of bonds, and like you can tell the impact it's had on you, and that you've passed that on. Like I hear the, when you were telling that story about provincials, by far the most pride you had in that story was when you said, oh, and we had a great grade 12 class that year. That's like your face perked up at that moment. It wasn't the winning, it wasn't the auto mode working, it was when you're talking about that, and when you were talking about the students who worked on the vision tracking, just the pride that you had in there, and you see how it just kind of gets passed down through the way. It's really neat. Hey, we're running out of time here, but Samantha, you got like a final question for Shahroze?
Yes, I do. What's your best piece of advice for students?
I actually have a couple. So first one would be that don't get siloed off into doing one thing specifically. So what I mean by that is, if you want to try out a bunch of things on the team. This is your opportunity to do so. This is what this program is about. It's for you to experience STEM. So I would say that if you want to try out programming and mechanical, there's nothing stopping you. There's this weird barrier that comes up sometimes that if you're a programmer, you can't do mechanical. But now, like, we're breaking down these barriers, right? So really feel free to experience everything that you can from this program. And then the other thing that I would say is, even if you're involved on the robot side and feel like you don't have time, I would say get involved a little bit with the business and admin side of the team. The admin side might not seem exciting, but once you actually get into it, you start realizing what the structure of the team is, how the team is being run, what's needed to support the team. And a lot of the skills that you learn in business and in the admin side of the team, you can apply into anything you do in the future. So like, sure, if you learn programming and you become a programmer, you can apply that, but business and admin is something that you can really apply to any field or anything that you do in your life.
Have either of you read Range by David Epstein?
I haven't, no.
It's a great book, and the subheading is Why Generalists Triumph in a World of Specialists. And it talks about the importance of exposing yourself to a lot of different concepts and a lot of different ideas, and why that like, yes, you can hyper focus on something, but that might work for a type of skill which requires like repeated knowledge or whatever. But like to solve problems, the more exposure you have to different areas, the better prepared you are. It's a really fascinating read, but I think it speaks to a lot of what you just said there, Shahroze, especially on an FRC team. Like you could easily just be like, I love CAD and this is what I want to do, and you can do that. But you're in the workforce now, and especially as an engineer, how valuable special generalists are. Someone who's like, oh yeah, they understand the coding side and the mechanical side and the electrical side and that piece, but also like the people who can encapsulate that, but get the business side and the project management side or whatever. And it's like, there's a lot going in there. And I think there's like a tendency to get people to specialize, like especially like with youth sports now. Some people are like, oh, well, you can only play hockey after you're 5 because you don't have time to play any other sports. But it turns out that like the best athletes are actually playing multiple sports because it develops multiple skills, multiple muscles, different types of muscle memory and the such. It's really interesting. Like a lot of people think it's like the Tiger Woods school. It's like, oh, you just got to do golf and golf only. But there's more and more evidence that the folks who are doing more actually do a little bit better, which is interesting because it's like the opposite of robot design where you want to specialize.
Right.
But in terms of your own experience, you kind of want to have something broader.
Sure.
This has been cool. So both of you, I want you to both check out that book and tell me what happened. Tell me what you think of it once you've read it. Get it on the list. Get it on the list. Well, First Canada Live book club. Maybe this is what it's going to be.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Shahroze, thank you so much for coming on the show. This was, dude, we could have done like 3 hours of story time. We could have done like a whole like 30 for 30 documentary on that provincial championship. This was a blast. We'll have you back again at some point. Hey, you want to come on for first trivia in 2 weeks?
Sure, why not?
First up against Libby Kamen.
Oh man, I don't know about against Libby. You know what? Okay. Let's do it.
Let's do it. 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks from now. All right, folks. Hey, this is the wrap for today's show. But like I said, next week, 2 weeks from now, Kahoot Challenge is back. Shazzy's going to come on to take on Libby. We're going to have some reps from Shad. Samantha, did you do Shad?
I did not actually.
Shazzy, did you do Shad?
I didn't know.
Well, you got to pay attention in 2 weeks to learn a little bit about the program because it's a really cool one. And we're going to be talking first Lego League Challenge kickoff. We're going to be talking about the game and all that's going on there. They're having a kickoff event this Saturday at Samantha's school at Bayview Glen. So that'll be a lot of fun. But in the meantime, folks, stay safe, get vaccinated if you're able, do what you can. Hey, get your teams registered. And big announcement, folks, Ontario Provincial Championship for First Robotics competition this year in Hamilton. Everyone, we will see you in 2 weeks. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.